Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be looking at the developmental plans, the developmental path and the process that Egypt has been undertaking, focusing mainly tonight on the private sector and the micro, small and medium enterprises looking to develop this sector. We've been developing and working on it for the past few years, so we'll be following up on the latest progress in this regard. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the main stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who addressed the extraordinary summit of the BRICS group via video conference today. In his address to the summit, which was held to discuss the latest developments in the Middle East, President el-Sisi expressed his sincere appreciation for the decision of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg to invite Egypt to join the group, in which the country welcomed. The President expressed his confidence that Egypt would exert efforts to enhance cooperation and joint coordination with the group based on the principles of solidarity, mutual respect, as well as respect for international law. President el-Sisi said the BRICS summit took place at a critical time, during which Palestinians were witnessing a continuous escalation in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, which claimed the lives of thousands of innocent Palestinians, two-thirds of whom were children and women. He added that the entire Gaza Strip has been exposed to collective punishment, siege, starvation and forced displacement. The head of state affirmed that such cruel humanitarian scenes revealed the inability of the international community and the stagnation of human conscience. The President revealed that Egypt had welcomed international efforts which are aimed at a ceasefire and the protection of Palestinian civilians, foremost among which was UN Security Council Resolution 2712, which called for an urgent need to reach a truce and an establishment of humanitarian corridors to allow aid into the besieged Gaza Strip. President el-Sisi called on the international community to put pressure on Israel to comply with the implementation of the resolution as an occupation power. He further confirmed that Egypt has opposed and condemned the killing of civilians by all parties, as well as targeting civil facilities, especially hospitals. The President affirmed that the international community bears a humanitarian and political responsibility to save civilians in Gaza and stop inhumane practices that make life and living in Gaza impossible, forcing people to leave their homes and lands. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi also affirmed that Egypt is exerting its utmost efforts to provide and deliver humanitarian support to the people of Gaza. During his meeting with Minister of Social Solidarity, Nevine, the President also praised the role played by the Egyptian Red Crescent in this regard. The meeting also touched on the role of the National Council for caring for the injured and families of the martyrs. The President expressed his appreciation and respect that the Egyptian people have for their loyal sons, who made the greatest sacrifices for the security of Egypt and its people. The meeting also dealt with following up the efforts undertaken by the Ministry of Social Solidarity to support people with special needs. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi affirmed that he followed up the proceedings of the Prime Minister's statement before the House of Representatives, during which he expressed the state's constance towards the Egyptian national security and towards the Palestinian crisis. The President stressed that the state, with all its agencies and institutions, would continue to provide the necessary support to the Palestinian cause at all levels. He rejected anew any attempts to liquidate the Palestinian case. President el-Sisi also called on all parties to raise the voice of wisdom and activate the concerned international resolutions. And a general session was held by the parliament to discuss the escalating situation in Gaza today, with the participation of Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli. The session discussed briefing a request to the Premier Madbouli over measures to prevent the forced displacement and resettlement of Palestinians away from the Gaza Strip.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli addressed the general session of the House of Representatives on measures the government had taken to prevent the forced displacement of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Madbouli expressed a total rejection of moving Palestinians in the Gaza Strip to Egyptian lands, saying it is a threat to Egyptian sovereignty and integrity. The Prime Minister said that he followed with a great interest parliamentary motions regarding state efforts to prevent attempts to forcibly displace Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. In this respect, Madbouli reviewed Egyptian efforts and measures taken to prevent attempts at forced displacement from the Strip. Madbouli emphasized the full Egyptian solidarity and support for the Palestinian people in the current plight and continuation with the Egyptian historical role towards the Palestinian cause. The Prime Minister hailed the Egyptian role towards the Palestinian cause, adding that the country had sacrificed and would continue to sacrifice for the Palestinian people, indicating that these briefings reflect an accurate and clear understanding of the challenges that face Egypt. Madbouli pointed to the economic pressures Egypt is exposed to and the effects of the political leadership vision which has secured Egypt's economy and strengthened the Egyptian army.
These were some of the main stories making the news today, but now turning our attention to the private sector and the micro, small and medium enterprises. Let's check out this report regarding President Sisi directing the government to support and empower the SMEs in this very vital sector. Let's check it out and we'll be right back.
President Fattah al-Sisi has directed the government to support the micro, small and medium enterprises development agencies' efforts to increase the amount of MSMEs in a way that meets the needs of young entrepreneurs in the private sector and contribute to unlocking their creative and investment potential. This is with a focus on industrial and agricultural sectors within the framework of the comprehensive plan to deepen industrialization in Egypt and increase industrial and agricultural exports. The President also instructed to updating the agency's strategy support its digital transformation process, achieve financial inclusion, and rely on green economy in line with the state's efforts to develop the Egyptian economy and increase its competitiveness. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has announced a package of incentives for industrial projects that aim to deepen national industry and target strategic sectors. The incentives include tax exemptions, land value recovery, and golden licenses for up to 10 years depending on the performance and size of the projects. The incentives are expected to boost industrialization, reduce imports, and increase exports. Businessmen and industrialists welcome the President's decision and praise its positive impact on the sector. The head of state is keen to discuss the presentation of activities carried out by the authority to support micro, medium and small enterprises in various development sectors by activating the necessary policies and laws and providing financial and non-financial services in order to maximize the ability of projects funded by the authority to provide new job opportunities and promote entrepreneurship. Additionally, the agency participates in various national initiatives throughout the Republic, such as Decent Life Initiative to develop the countryside, the national program to convert cars to work with natural gas, the initiative to support promising and competitive small industrial sectors at the governorate level, as well as the initiative to develop handicrafts and heritage industries. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli asserted that Ayadi Misr exhibition is important and comes within the framework of the directives of President Fattah al-Sisi to support micro, small and medium enterprises in addition to handicrafts and traditional crafts in the governorates due to its pivotal role in pushing forward the development wheel, supporting competitiveness, developing local economy and creating job opportunities.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Dr. Nevine Nakhla, the Business Administration Consultant and Trainer for Small and Medium Enterprises. Dr. Nakhla, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Nakhla, we've been talking in Egypt over the past few years about the importance of the private sector and the small and medium enterprises in specific. And there were many calls and decisions by the Egyptian Central Bank to offer 200 million pounds for the SMEs, which was a big sum at the time as well. So the country and the government have been really focusing on encouraging SMEs, encouraging the youth to start their own businesses and having their own startups and entrepreneurship and everything of the sort. And it seems that really this is the language of the business world nowadays, focusing on the SMEs and really trying to steer away a little bit from international multinationals and conglomerates. So how far have we come so far in terms of really empowering the SMEs in general in Egypt?
Thank you very much for inviting me today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. SMEs is very important. It is the backbone of any economy. And worldwide, SMEs, they are nearly 90% of the business and of the even more than half the GDP of countries. And in Egypt, with our very young population, 60% of our population are young people. So the change from people waiting for jobs and waiting for to be employed by the government or to be employed by multinational, this is not the way to economical growth and real growth of economies and countries. So His Excellency, our beloved President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, has really made in the last few years, he has made great change in the norms of the country as well. The norms and the education of entrepreneurship is starting from schools, from universities since few years. So this change of the mindset, this change of the way young people think, it really works perfect for the creativity and the innovation and for the coming future jobs and the future need for the SMEs in our country.
Yes.
A lot of things has been taken care of from the political will, from the ministries, from all the political will of Egypt. Very good ecosystem for entrepreneurs and SMEs. And let me add before the SMEs, the SMEs.
Yes, the micro.
Because in Egypt we have a lot of micro, not only small and medium enterprises, but also the micro enterprises. And it's very important for the job creation as well, because the job opportunities they open for others is very important. Also, SMEs in Egypt, if we look into the numbers, as we said, more than around approximately 90% of the private sector are small medium enterprises. Add to them the micro in the new rural areas that are developed by our a lot of initiatives like Decent Life Initiative. Yes. Very important for the economical growth of Egypt in general.
Well, the micro, small and medium enterprises, they really, I mean, people don't realize how integral it is. It goes as far as offering about 75% for the work opportunities all around the country.
Exactly.
So if we're looking, I mean, you've mentioned the Decent Life Initiative, for instance, which is responsible for a big chunk of those 75%. Now, how feasible is it? Or, I mean, talking about the rural areas, people with low income, under the low income brackets, those who don't really know, have the know-how or the high level sort of education and expertise in financing and accounting and really having some sort of a business plan for their micro enterprises. How are they being helped by an initiative such as the Decent Life Initiative? Because some of them might not even be able to get into certain online platforms that would actually help them in that.
Yeah, and this is the Great Egypt, and this is, you know, that Decent Life Initiative is targeting 60 million Egyptian people, and it's targeting more than 4,600 villages with thousands and thousands of families. It was not only an infrastructure initiative, it was a human capital, a human change, and a hand for these villages on a social level and on changing from from the security, social security of something like Takaful and Karama to really training and doing real agricultural projects and a lot of projects for the micro MSMEs in these villages. We see that Ministry, for example, of Social Solidarity, they have Knocking Doors initiative. We have also on national level the National Initiative of Family, the Family Support National Initiative. Yes. And these initiatives, they are offered grants and offered a lot of financial and non-financial support to these villages. So we find, for example, the Knocking Doors initiative, they are visiting these villages of Decent Life Initiative and doing production, how to make them more productive, the youth more productive, how to help them to really appreciate work and appreciate private business, help them in doing their feasibility study on very small scale, help them also by the vocational training, a lot of vocational training in these villages and in rural areas, even in the borders of Egypt, in the cities on the borders. So helping with the training, capacity building, financial, non-financial facilities, showing them what they can do, offering them different kinds of projects, depending also on the industrial map of Egypt. Yes. His Excellency also really made this industrial map of Egypt, which helped a lot to see the potential of what projects to be done in which villages and in which cities. And this was very, very, very successful. We have a lot of successful stories. For example, if we talk about the tomatoes in Egypt, we had 35% of the tomatoes was we were losing them in the supply chain and in the transportation and in the whole process of production and transportation of them. Now you have in the villages that plant these products. They do a lot of different small projects, very micro projects, like sun-dried tomatoes, like packing, like tomato paste, whatever. I'm just giving a small example. A lot of small projects from raising up some animals at home, doing selling eggs, selling very small projects to big agricultural projects. It's a whole deepening of the industry in Egypt, and also widening the map of industrialization in Egypt, and putting each governorate and each city in this map, in this industrial map. For example, we have the governorate of the flower, the jasmine, that is producing jasmine and selling to the whole world for perfumes, the big brands of perfume. We have also the villages of doing the talli in Sohag and in other places, the handicrafts, the heritage products. A lot of work, a lot of training, a lot of cooperation, a full ecosystem that is really connected to each other. Also digitalization of things and digital transformation. For example, the Social Solidarity Ministry of Social Solidarity now, with the digitalization and with under it, the NGOs and all the social, all the civil society, really seen and registered officially. You know which NGO is working and specialized in which projects. So this is very important, because the government alone can't work. They need the NGOs that are living inside the villages and inside the cities to support. Their support is divided into, for example, some for health support and health giving, some for projects, some for agricultural projects, some for small industrial projects. So I mean, this digitalization and this transformation of the real knowledge and the real data and information on the ground was a great support to these MSMEs.
Yes. Well, Dr. Nakhla, the government has many measures that would actually help encourage the MSMEs, including the tax exemptions, certain tax exemptions, land value recovery, encouraging the exports process, also the golden license, which would actually last for about 10 years. So how far have these measures really helped strengthen the small and medium enterprises? And for those who don't really know how to go about making use of all these incentives for the MSMEs, how can they go on about it?
Yes. To strengthen the MSMEs in Egypt, the government took huge measures from, as you said, the law, the legislation, the tax reform for them. For example, if the company is under 50,000 Egyptian pounds, they only pay the tax of 1,000 Egyptian pound. If it's from 250,000 to 500,000, they only pay 2,500 Egyptian pounds, and so it goes and so on. So I mean, this is very important, because in Egypt we had more than 2 million informal businesses and informal industries and informal people working without paying any taxes, without being registered officially. And this was very dangerous because, first of all, the government, when they come and do the forecast for the country yearly, annually, they count how many businesses, for example. And if you have more than half the MSMEs or the micro enterprises working unofficially, so they are not served, they are not counted, they are not scalable. Because, for example, I mentor and I train MSMEs, especially women. So I tell them, how can I sell your products and export your products when you cannot do an invoice? How do you think you're going to scale up? Also, the employment, they stay small, they stay, when they are unofficial and not legal, they don't continue. Studies say that most of the MSMEs, especially the unofficial, they do not go beyond the first year. Because, first of all, they are not obligated. They wake up when they want to wake up. They produce when they want to produce. They don't have an ROI. They don't have a feasibility study. They are working on very low scale. And the second thing, they are scared that they'll be catched or something. So this will kill them short. I mean, will end their story very short. It's not success. So what the government is doing now, with all the facilitating and all the tax reduction and all the facilities it's giving to the industry and to the SMEs, MSMEs, encouraging them to go legal. And this is very important for our economy. For our industry, for our exporting. Also, for example, the last initiative by our dear president in 3 countries, 3 governorates in Upper Egypt, Sohag, Luqsor, and Asyut, they made for them a ready-made hub for production and for their projects, for industry. This was very important. With more than 1,000 places, they can just plug and work and produce agricultural, industrial, whatever. And also, it was not a trap that each one should have one factory. No, if you want to expand, if you want to scale up, you can take another factory. Exemption of taxes for 5 years, one-stop shop for the legalization of documents, a lot of support, Even in these hubs, for production, they benefit from getting their machines with only 2% customs, for example. They benefit from the financial support with very, very, very low interest rates, as low as 5% interest rate, which is worldwide. It's very good. Your question about how would they know, the MESMEDA, the Micro, Small, Medium Enterprise Development Agency, they have the Masharia, the projects initiative, and it's a huge one.
Yes.
And they have offices in all governorates and in all cities all around Egypt. And they have a hotline. They really do support. They don't only support financially but also non-financially. They support youth and young people from the ideation, from helping them. You are from which governorate? Yes, your governorate has these resources and has these things you can do, and these projects that will be helping the supply chain and the bigger industrials in this governorate. So they give them like a list to choose from. If they don't have their idea, they sit with them for once, twice, 10 times. It's their job to help youth and to help young people to choose their project. And after choosing their project, they help them free of charge do their feasibility study.
Yes.
And after doing that, they even help them from where to locate the machines and the raw materials. So I mean...
Well, do you think, Dr. Nakhla, that, I mean, you've mentioned how a lot of the owners of the micro-enterprises are still kind of worried, scared, skeptical, they're afraid of going legal, and maybe they don't realize the potential their business and their enterprise could have if they do scale it up and realize how much profit they can actually make. And still, there is this lack of awareness of the potential some of the micro enterprises owners have. So do we still need to raise awareness? How do we overcome this skepticism regarding the young or the micro business owners?
Okay, the government is doing a lot, but the government cannot work alone for 120 million population. So the NGOs also and the the civil society should really work hard with this awareness. A lot of ministries are doing a lot of initiatives and doing a lot of awareness. For example, as we said, the social solidarity initiative of knocking doors, and they go to the villages of decent life. They collect the head of the village. They collect the youth. They keep on empowering women and empowering youth in different awareness sessions. Also, there was the women who are under the social solidarity, the women ambassadors for these projects and for encouraging women to do small projects, micro projects in their villages. On the other hand, the Ministry of Planning and Development, they have, like, I was counting them, reading the initiatives, they have like 8 different initiatives. One of them I train in it is Rabha initiative for women. We are training 1,040 women to be successful business owners and entrepreneurs, and this is all work of encouragement. But if you want my personal, off the record, if you want my personal opinion, I think we should have a separate ministry called Ministry of Awareness. Ministry of Awareness and what do you call it? Awareness and information. That works as the voice of all the 20 ministries, and even for labels in the street, when to go right, when to go left, where to find this. So, but the government has done a lot regarding this issue. And we see the great change. Thousands of new businesses are registered. Thousands of unofficial factories are legalized and reported and documented, and now they are official. And we saw His Excellency, our beloved President, once in one of the meetings, he said, if you find, please, if you find a factory that is working hard and employing people and really doing good production, but they are illegal, don't close them. Go to them, support them, make them go legal, and train them, vocational training, give them training how to do a better product, help them to export, help them to do better, scale up, give them a better place, take them from under the houses. Some rural areas, they have under the houses small factories. Take them from there to the new hubs of production, show them sustainable development, show them a lot of support.
Definitely. Well, microfinancing has actually recorded about an 18.4% increase during the first quarter of 2023, which amounts to about 74.8 billion Egyptian pounds. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The Egyptian Federation for Medium, Small and Micro Enterprises funding said the size of microfinance jumped by 18.4% in the first quarter of 2023, hitting 74.8 billion pounds compared to 63.1 billion pounds in the same period last year. The Federation's chairwoman, Mona Zulfaqar, stated that members that provide financing small and medium enterprises are three companies, which are Aman and Wasila and Tasahil, as well as an association, Al Mubadra. Zulfaqar speculated that microfinance would grow more in the coming period as Financial Regulatory Authority had raised by 10% the maximum of a loan provided by firms and civil society to become £220,000. Meanwhile, the number of beneficiaries rose by 7.4% to become 4.7 million, up from 4.3 million. The breakdown in terms of type of service providers is £15.7 billion disbursed by civil society to 2.1 million customers, £25.2 billion disbursed by microfinance firms to 1.8 million customers, and £33.8 billion disbursed by banks to 808,000 customers. The funds offered by banks are worth up to £200,000 each. As for Nano Finance, 8,000 beneficiaries received £10.13 million. On the other hand, the loans provided to small and medium enterprises by firms and associations licensed to offer such services have amounted to £2.5 billion. The number of customers in that category reached 2,840 on the industrial front. Tax exemptions were among the most important recommendations made by the Industry Committee of Egyptian National Dialogue for Import Substitution, which would enhance the competitiveness of manufacturers and help them localize and deepen local industry. The tax incentives package was the lifeline for the industry sector in light of the global inflation, as incentives would lead to the recovery of the national industry and increase export rates. The industry sector contributes more than 16% to the GDP, accounts for 85% of the non-oil commodity exports, and employs about 3.5 million workers, or 13% of the total workforce in Egypt.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing our discussion with Dr. Nakhla. Doctor, now, one of the measures were really trying to facilitate exports, and it seems that, I mean, we're part of the BRICS now. We obviously have the African Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement, and we've had the summit quite recently about the African Free Trade Area. So it might be a bit difficult under the current economic and political circumstances for governments to cut deals and import and export easily. So it seems like the private sector could have more of a leeway, or it might be more feasible for the private sector to actually import and export materials and products. So what is being done for small and medium enterprises and startups to actually try and export their products, export their services? What is the government doing to facilitate such trade activity?
Thank you for mentioning the summit, which was last week, the fair,
Yes.
intra-African trade fair. It was amazing, and the government really supported the MSMEs, especially the small and medium in handicrafts and in herbal teas and different agricultural products. We saw maybe 40 or 50 different projects of SMEs. They made for them the Egyptian booth, which was huge, and this fair was very expensive. So I mean, they did not pay anything, and this is one of the very big support of SMEs going into these initiatives. I always encourage women, especially, and MSMEs to go into the initiatives of the government, because going into the initiatives, you will get a lot of benefits, like going to international exhibitions, sometimes free, sometimes with very minimum, just seriousness cost. Regarding the African Free Trade Agreement, it was a very good chance for Egyptian products because we had delegations from all the African countries. The AFCFTA, the African Free Trade Agreement, today they are going to sign at the end of this year, they're going to sign 31 countries. And if you see, okay, for developing countries and less developed countries, there is a timetable of the reduction of the customs exchange between them. So this is the third year. So at least there is a reduction of 30%, because some countries, they reduce 10% every year. Some countries, less developed, they could reduce 20% per year. So in importing and exporting within Africa, already 2023, some countries you find 60% exemption, some countries you find 30% exemption. And of course, it depends on the kind of the product itself. So the support, going back to MSMEs and their support to export, not only showing them how to do quality control, how to get the ISO certificates, how to work hard on market analysis and the gap analysis between countries in the region and countries in the continent. Also the support in how to exhibit. It was the design even of their exhibition, very high standard, very elegant.
Yes.
And all this support leads to exporting. I spoke with many of them after the market fair, and a lot of them already got orders for exporting. Also, they take them to trade missions abroad to the countries with potential to their products. A lot of support, a lot of good things, and this is the benefit of going official.
Yes.
As we were talking during the break, the companies that are unofficial, they don't have this luxury. They will stay small, they will stay hidden. Exactly. So this encouragement by word of mouth, by seeing others, what happened to them, by seeing their families, that someone in the family was doing a handicraft or heritage production or agricultural production, and now they're exporting and they are leveling up, scaling up. All this encourage others.
Yes.
Our grandfathers or we had a history maybe in very old days that taxes will come and will just do anything and can kill your business. But now with the invoice, the electronic invoice, with the inclusion of the technology and the digital,
yes,
everything is really adjusted perfectly.
Yes, definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard from Dr. Nakhla, I mean, it's only beneficial for micro businesses and small and medium enterprises to legalize, scale up and realize their own potential, get out of the shadow economy and hopefully reach some sort of a 90% of a country's economy and truly become a backbone for our Egyptian economy. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank my distinguished guest, Dr. Nevine Nakhla, the Business Administration Consultant and Trainer of the Small and Medium Enterprises. Dr. Nakhla, always a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you for the English voice of Egypt to the world.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Night International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.